I'm going to talk about how to sum up the first n terms of a geometric series. There's a really elegant proof of this in the textbook, but it's really not necessary to understand that in order to do these exercises. The formula is pretty simple. It's just the sum of the first n terms of a geometric series is equal to the first term, and then it's going to be 1 minus the ratio. N is the number of terms you want to sum up, and then that whole thing's going to be divided by 1 minus r. Okay, so let's go back and look at an example we did before where we have an earner that earns $30,000, and we'll call that A1. Okay, so let's say they get 5% raises every year. So the next year, basically they'd get this, right? You can figure out what that is. And then I continue to multiply by 1.05 every year. That would give me the next term from year to year to year in the sequence of earnings. Okay, so you might be aware that like the Social Security Administration keeps track of all of our earnings. And so it's an interesting calculation to do to ask what would be the total of this person's earnings over these 5 years or over 5 years. Okay, so let's see how that would work out. Okay, so what I want to plug in, okay, I want to plug in 30,000 for A1, right? And then I'm going to do 1 minus the ratio. So that's going to be 1.05 is the ratio. We're doing this over 5 years, so that's going to be 5 terms. And then it's going to be divided by 1 minus the ratio, so that's going to be 1 minus 1.05. Okay, it's really important to enter this into your calculator very carefully because that's basically where most of the errors occur. So if you do that correctly, I did something like this. Okay, I don't know if you can see it on there. But anyway, the total amount that I got, and of course you have to round it to the nearest dollar, and of course there could be issues of rounding because, you know, do you round the intermediate salaries to the nearest dollar or cents or stuff like that? So, you know, if you check this by hand, you might be off by a tiny bit because of those issues of the rounding, but hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so I get 0.9375. I'm going to round that to 0.94. Okay, so anyway, you could check it by hand. If you weren't sure, you could just find those 5 years of earning individually. Okay, they're not that hard because there's just 5. And then you could add all of those up and it should come pretty close to this total. Obviously, again, it could be a little bit of a rounding issue with adding them up, but you should get something close to that.